initial reaction to this. Um, I don't know how many articles New York Times is going to allow me to look at, but for now, as I'm going through my regular routine of just trying to be informed in what's the news, if something catches my eye, I just decided I would just hop on here and just share my initial reaction. Okay, so this one, it says San Francisco contends with different sort of epidemic, drug deaths. Says more people died from overdoses than from the coronavirus in San Francisco last year. That is deep. Now, okay, if you're kind of just starting to tune in, I just did a video on Caitlyn Jenner running for California governor, and this is one of the things that we can just add to that list. Whoever is coming in is going to have to deal with all of these issues, and I don't think we should be riding the coattails of a celebrity. Um, so yeah, let me get back on track here. It says, some think the toll tied to homelessness should force city to re-examine its approach to illicit drugs. Wow, but I'm just going to allow that to sink in. More people died from overdoses than from the coronavirus. Just because I have time restrictions on this, I think I'm limited to 10 minutes for now. I would be interested to find out the numbers for San Francisco. That's crazy. In front of the public view. And you can stop the frame and read this, but I'm allowing you to see my initial reactions here. And I hate when people are reading the article. It's kind of like, bruh, I can read. So let me just read through this real quick. It says 713 lives last year, more than double the 257 people here who died of the virus in 2020. 713. Now the math on that's a lot for a city. Okay? That's for a city. And I'm a little bit of a nerd here, so I just want to make sure. 59, almost, it averages out to about 59 to 60 deaths per month from overdose. There we go. Opioid, the good old opioid. Now, my question is, why isn't this more in the news? This should be all over the news. Don't come to California, y'all. Do not come out here. We have high taxes. We have homelessness, issues going on with the real estate. We have an opioid crisis that apparently no one in the media is really talking about. I feel like this should be all over the news. Fentanyl, more powerful than heroin, has found fertile ground around thousands of homeless. And they're making it out to seem like it's homeless. Like I said, I dabbled in real estate a little bit for myself. I'm one of those thousands of people in California who thought they could get their real estate license, and kudos to those of you who have a long-standing career in real estate. Part of it's not really my thing. I'll just leave it at that. But I learned so much, and one of the summits I went to for real estate, they were talking about how you'd be surprised the homeless and their drug use. Ooh, it's rough, and I don't have time to go into it here. But I think that there's not really a lot of language out there to really educate the everyday person about what's going on below the surface. Um, and so then now you have HIV problems, right? Because if they're using needles, says a member of the represents Tenderloin, low income housing. I don't know, because from what I know about opioids, it's not necessarily low income areas. So I could be mistaken. Um, yep, there we go. That's what I was just about to say. So, unlike areas of the rural Midwest, which have been devastated by fentanyl, San Francisco's well-funded and sophisticated, but San Francisco has a well-funded and sophisticated public health system. Exactly. So it's not necessarily that it's low-income places. It's places like San Francisco that have quote unquote well-funded and sophisticated public health systems. The overdose crisis is calling into question the city's non-judgmental tolerance. Okay. See, so I'm not going crazy here. This should be one of those things where for you to address it, you have to have judgment, and it seems like this is just flying below the radar. Say they want to reinforce, expand so-called harm reduction. Um, uh, not meaning to laugh there. Wow. It says the city has been seen deadlier. Damn. San Francisco, huh? San Francisco City has seen deadlier public health emergencies. At its height in the AIDS epidemic in the 1990s, disease was killing 33 people a week. This has been going on for a long while, but that's the thing with opioid crisis, right? It's because of the demographics of who it's hitting. Let's just say not black people. It's been kept quiet. And so for you to be treated for fentanyl drug abuse and opioid drug abuse, they have the posh clinics and rehab centers where they give you a prescripted dosage of opioids to help you get off of the drug. You think you would hear more about people being locked up for opioids right up there with people who are being locked up for marijuana, but you don't. And this is not something new. This is like this article says from the 1990s, right? Because if you look at the news, wouldn't you say, "Wow, there's a lot of people getting locked up for opioid use and fentanyl use"? Nope, you don't hear anything about that. What you hear is marijuana use because marijuana is used by a certain demographic. I personally don't use it. I like to keep my third eye open, but it's just a personal preference of mine. um, and so I don't use it, but I see it for what it is. Um, you can't disentangle the overdose mortality crisis from the housing. Absolutely agree. Whoever this Dr. Carl is, he's an epidemiologist. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize there's a correlation between the overdose crisis and the housing crisis. I absolutely actually agree with that. Um, during the pandemic, it's whoa. Now, from what I know about fentanyl, that stuff is really deadly. It makes sense why it's deadly. I have heard of like parents. Um, it's so deadly that it can drop an elephant, right? And one of the last cases that I remember specifically hearing about fentanyl, like I said, this is not in the media. They're not talking about it a lot. So literally, if I say it was about maybe a month ago, um, this mom, she somehow the fentanyl got on the bottle, the baby's bottle, and so when the baby drank it and ingested it, it's a child. So when you talk about how small a dose can drop an elephant and it's on a baby's bottle, I guess when the mom was preparing the bottle or cross contamination, it took that baby out. So when you talk about 5,449 grams of fentanyl in 2020, see, it's 4 times more than the previous year. Oh my goodness. Enough to kill 2.7. I remember 2.7 million people. I remember like it was 2 years ago. I think it was there was I want to say it was Chase Bank. that had a huge cargo boat with drugs on it. And I don't even know what happened to them. Let me see if I can try to find it real quick. With heroin, you typically have 1 to 2 hours between the last use and when you stop breathing. Wow, so that means it's kind of contributing to the crisis. Let me just check real quick. There was a boat. Can I go back? Let me check something real quick. It was like a chase, bank, boat, cargo, ship with drugs. And I never heard what happened to them after that. Yeah, I remember this. Cargo ship owned by J.P. Morgan Chase seized with 20 tons of cocaine. They were probably on their way to California. Obviously, they're going to mass distribute it. If you have any idea just how big this is for those of you who are into trading in stocks, um, and so when you talk about something the epic proportions of an evergreen, and you realize that each of these containers, right, is what you see when you're at a railroad stop. That's how much drugs, 20 tons of cocaine, you guys, in July 10 of 2019. And never heard anything in terms of consequences of what happened for them. When you talk about I'm your pusher, bruh. And when you talk about people going to jail for marijuana, but nothing happens here, I can go ahead and research it and see whatever happened out of this, but I figure since it's a corporation, nothing's gonna happen. Uh yeah. And so then now when you're talking about what's the time frame on this? This was just updated at 6:08 today. Fascinating. From this article from July 10. I wonder what they edited. Like why would you be editing something, excuse me, almost like a year later? But anyways, this is from July 2019, so 2020, 21. Yeah. So that article I just read before was from the aftermath. All right. I'll talk to you later.